Time to wake up. It's Saturday morning. Find some milk and cereal. Grab a bowl and spoon. No, a bigger spoon. Head to the living room and take a seat on the floor while Joseph and Chris present to you Saturday Morning Cartoon!
Hello everybody, welcome to Saturday Morning Cartoon Boom! This is a show where we wake up with the Saturday morning sun, plopped on the floor with a big bowl of sugar cereal, we'll try your favorite cartoons, both old and new. I'm Joseph.
Boom! I'm Chris.
I'm gonna cut every boom out, except for my
own. You jerk. Even yours?
Yeah,
so it's gonna be like,
it's just,
and
hello,
you're listening to Saturday Morning Cartoon?
The cartoon show. The theme song for this, I swear I listened to it like
awesome.
4 times just a little while ago, and I still don't have like a handle on it. Like it's at first it starts with like a bunch of weird noise, like
oh, yeah. It's just like metal and as many sound effects as they can throw in.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's freaking great. I love it.
I don't know. As much as I like the show, the theme song could have used some work, I think.
Oh man, no, I'm all in with the theme song. I'm good with it.
No.
I'm gonna make that my ringtone.
I need theme songs to describe the show for me and tell me exactly what I'm getting myself into.
I'm gonna instead of my ringtone, I'm gonna make it my text message thing. So every text I get, I'm gonna hear not just that part, but the entire like 60 seconds or whatever it is.
So I'll know anytime I text you that I have to wait at least a minute before I get a response.
Exactly, because I'm gonna be rocking out.
Gotcha.
I'm gonna be playing air guitar on my desk at work.
Never mute your phone. Yeah, it's just everywhere.
Yeah.
Even in the theater, just
Yeah. No, I can't actually do that at work again. I'll get in trouble again.
During a meeting.
Yeah.
So the show Mighty Max. Oh wait, who suggested this to us?
This was suggested by NJHORROR on Instagram. So thank you, NJHORROR. Is that New Jersey horror? Ninja horror?
It's got to be New Jersey, right? Right?
Maybe.
Right. No, it's right.
Is it because there's a lot of horror in New Jersey, or New Jersey is horrible?
I feel like they're just fans of horror. That's my hope. If so,
I'm going to go with both.
I've been to New Jersey and it wasn't bad. Wasn't bad.
Really?
Not a lot of horror. Not that I saw.
You didn't go to the clubs.
So the show Mighty Max aired from 93 to 95, developed by Mark Zaslov and Rob Hudnut, produced by Film Roman.
Hang on. Please say those names again.
Mark and Rob.
No, what are their last names?
Zaslov was the first one, and then Hudnut was the second one.
It's just funny.
Very elementary school funny, I guess.
Oh, yeah. I'm stupid, guys. I'm sorry.
The show is produced by Film Roman, distributed by Bobot Communications, ran for 2 seasons, 40 episodes. In the US, it ran first-run syndication, so on multiple networks. In the UK, it ran on CBBC and Nickelodeon. In France, it ran on Canal Plus and M6. And in Italy, it ran on Canal 5 and Italia 1.
Wow. So this was in a lot of countries, is what you're saying.
It was. Technically, I'll get into it in the marshmallows, but I think it's because of where the idea originated. I don't know. We'll see. For a short synopsis, Max, a 12-year-old boy, finds a magical cap that can teleport him across dimensions. I mean, was sent, I guess.
That's just skimming the surface.
Yeah, barely even that. Like, that could be anything. Anyway, so who are some of the actors who played in this show?
All right, so the voice of Max, a.k.a. Mighty Max, was Rob Paulson, who we've talked about a billion times from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Animaniacs, Pinky and the Brain. Animaniacs is getting a comeback, apparently, so that's cool. I assume Rob's going to be voicing Yakko again. I hope so.
I mean, he's got to be, right?
You would think. The voice of Virgil was Tony J, who is known for bringing things such as Twin Peaks, Two Stupid Dogs, Fantastic Four, the cartoon, not the horrible movies, Reboot, which we just heard him in Reboot, whatever months ago. When did we do that? We did that recently. That one. He was also in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Savage Dragon, and Rugrats. The voice of Norman was Richard Mall, who was the voice of Two-Face from Batman the Animated Series, which is one of the best character portrayals in cartoons, I think. Maybe, I don't know. He was also in The Legend of Calamity Jane, and the Spider-Man cartoon from 1997 as Scorpion. Max's mom was voiced by Tress MacNeille, who's been in lots of Disney stuff, Animaniacs, Simpsons, Futurama. Guessing she's also coming back for the new Animaniacs as Dot. Hopefully, maybe. Let's hope so. And then finally, Skullmaster was voiced by Tim Curry, who everyone probably is familiar with that name. In the cartoon world, he's been in things such as Pirates of Dark Waters, Sonic the Hedgehog, Captain Planet, Gargoyles, Real Monsters, Wild Thornberrys, Young Justice, and Star Wars: The Clone Wars. And that is not even getting into all the crazy movies that he's been in. So big cast here, real big cast.
Yeah, but before we started doing these shows, like I didn't realize Tim Curry had such a diverse like animation background.
Yeah, I didn't either, man. There's a few people in here I didn't know did cartoons at all. Tim Curry being one, another one being Brad Garrett. He does tons of cartoons, and I was surprised to find that out.
Yeah, I mean it's cool. I like it, but I'm always surprised to see it. And it's not like, I mean, you can kind of place his voice in this because I was likening it to Pennywise from his portrayal in the movie It, because a phrase you'll hear a lot in this from Skullmaster is, "You'll die," or "Now you'll die."
Yeah, he threatens to kill people a lot.
That's
got some problems to work out.
That's I mean, this, for being what this cartoon was, it had a pretty dark, not even undertones, dark overtones to it. Like it was just kind of dark in a lot of ways.
I'm gonna have so much to say about that. Oh man.
Yeah. So for a few tasty marshmallows out of our big bowl of Mighty Max cereal. So this was first created to promote the British Mighty Max toys, which for anyone who knows were based off of the Polly Pocket toys back in the 90s. And it was kind of a branch off of that to appeal to boys. So it started as a toy and was turned into a cartoon after that, and actually turned out to be a surprisingly good cartoon considering its origin. But it's like, I don't know, do kids these days have something like that? Do they have any of those little pocket things like we used to have?
I don't know. I mean, I'm way too out of touch since I don't have kids, but I mean, not that I know of. I mean, I think there's probably plenty of things for girls, maybe not as small as the Polly Pocket things used to be, but boys, I doubt that there's anything like this. But yeah, it's pretty much just like, they're like, let's make Polly Pocket, but for boys, so let's make it cool. And it worked.
Yeah, because they had like, okay, so for a little description of them, it would be like you would have like a skeleton head, then you would open, well, it would be a skeleton face. You would open the face up, and there's like a little,
like a scene dungeon
inside, or like a dungeon,
something.
It doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the face itself, but there might be a little skeleton figure in there, and these things will be tiny. Like maybe they don't have them for kids because they're like choking hazards or something, but not. Well, they wouldn't even be choking hazards. They're so small.
Well, I mean,
you could
when
just
we were
literally
kids,
swallow
we had
them.
So
yeah, true.
Yeah.
But it's like you have these little figures, and Max would be like not even maybe an inch tall. I don't even know. Like those things were so tiny. Like they don't even have like movable limbs.
Yeah, Max was only like the length of maybe your middle fingernail.
Yeah, exactly. Like they were so tiny, but so it made the little scenes that were inside of these look even larger because of these tiny figures you got with them. So basically, Mighty Max was a spin-off of Polly Pocket, and then they started doing it with everything. Like there was a Batman head that opened up and had Batman figures. There were a bunch of Star Wars ones. There were Star Wars ones that did it. Like there were Stormtrooper heads and stuff like that. And then they had those little Micro Machine ones. I think it was Galoob or Globe. I don't remember the name of it exactly, but they made these little like mini TIE fighters or mini X-Wings that had these tiny little Star Wars figures in it. So there was kind of like a craze of these small, like pocket-sized figures back in the 90s. And like I said, I don't know if it still exists because we're not in touch with what kids are playing with these days. But like back in our day, like there was a ton of this stuff all over the place.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was the first marshmallow, and I just had to go off on that a little bit on a tangent. But
jeez, Joseph, let's get on with it. Oh my God.
For the next one, the series was canceled mid. Okay, this one I can't verify, and there was a misspelling in this statement, so I'm afraid it may be false. But I'm gonna say it, and I'm just putting it out there that it might be false. So the series was canceled mid-season without closure to the storyline. Maybe that's true. I don't know, but. Reportedly, it was because of the amount of violence and insinuated death scenes.
Well, I mean, I don't know, because we saw the last episode and it tied everything back together.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, it kind of does, but I don't know if it. since we didn't watch the episodes preceding that, like I don't know if it just felt rushed at the end, but it felt like a fine closure to me.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it was something they
take that
had
one
to,
with a grain of salt.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if it's something they had to throw in at the last minute or if they did get proper closure to it. But either way, that may or may not be true.
Felt like closure to me.
Yeah. Lastly, there were just some of the extra stuff that was based on this. So first of all, there was never any I think there was like a couple of VHS tapes that had some episodes on it, but the entire series was never released on DVD, streaming, anything. Like it was a popular series back then, but it still never got a proper home video release, aside from some episodes on VHS. So what I'm about to tell you are some of the things that it did get as
secret.
Even as short as the series was, it did get a pretty good amount of merchandise attached to it. So there was McDonald's had Happy Meal toys that I don't remember, but apparently there were some Happy Meal toys that related to that. There was a
vaguely remember those.
There was actually a video game for Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis, The Adventures of Mighty Max, which I kind of remember, but I don't think I ever played it. Yeah. The next one I'm going to say, like everything had one of these. So there was a handheld game that was released by Tiger Entertainment or Tiger Electronics. You remember those little stupid handheld games where everything's just like you're basically moving blocks of pixels that don't look like they're moving? Yeah. There was one of those, but like I said, everything in the 90s had something like that attached to it. I think I had an X-Men one or something where I was Wolverine. Oh, they were terrible.
Nice.
Yeah. There was a 10-issue comic book series that was released by Marvel. There was a sticker album, at least one puzzle, and board games. And in some countries, there were replicas of Max's cap. That would be cool to have. Like, I would like to get a hold of one of those if I could.
I would totally get one of those. That sounds awesome.
Yeah. Max is very like a self-advertising kind of guy. Like even when you first are introduced to him, he's got a big M on his shirt. He just loves himself.
He's got M on his shirt, M on his hat.
Yeah.
He's very into himself.
They do not want you to forget that his name is Max. It's just like Apocalypse from the X-Men. He's just got that giant A on his belt in case you forgot.
He wants everyone to know.
Yeah. Had you ever, surely you've heard of this, right?
Oh, dude, I used to watch Mighty Max all the time. I loved this show.
Nice.
I had several of the toys. I had the snake head, the skull head that you were talking about. There was like a dragon skull looking thing.
Yeah.
And then I had the Cyclops head with the horn sticking out of the forehead.
Yeah, I might have underplayed the amount of toys that were released for this, those little pocket toys, but when I was looking through like some of them on Wikipedia, and this wasn't even a complete list, there were like tons of them. Like,
oh man, I'd only seen maybe a dozen of them.
Yeah, that's what I would have thought. Like before we had like researched this a little bit, I didn't know there were so many, but going back and looking through them, there weren't like hundreds, but there were still like way more than I thought there were. Like if you would have asked me, I would have said like maybe there were 10, but there's way more than that. There were like season or series of them, like series 1, series 2, series 3, and then like spin-off of those series of just the toys. And I was like, wow, I didn't realize. Okay. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at pictures now, and there's a ton more than I thought. Holy crap! All right, because I just stumbled on a page of at least a dozen that I didn't even know they made.
Yeah, exactly.
But one thing that drove me nuts is I could never find one with Virgil in it. Like I had a couple versions of Max, I had 2 or 3 Normans, could never find a Virgil, which made me really sad because I needed him to round it out.
I think that the maybe part of the reason for that is because since they were toys first, it was only like Max and just various like default enemies, and then it wasn't until the series came out that Norman and Virgil actually became characters. Yeah,
he probably came out. I bet they put him in toys in like the subsequent generations or something. But
yeah, you're probably
I never
right.
got one. But yeah, like I loved this show. I watched it before school a lot, and this was the first cartoon that introduced me to the concept of death, because there is a lot of death in this cartoon, believe it or not. And yeah, so there's so much of this cartoon stuck with me because of that. Like, I don't want to say I was traumatized by it, but it definitely left like a really big impact, and that there's several scenes and characters and stuff like that before we even watched this for this review, I remembered them, and it was just, it left a very long lasting impact with me, and there's like scenes and stuff that I will never forget because it was just that memorable for me. So yeah, this was a big thing for me as a kid.
I remember it, but I didn't remember it being this. It's not graphic or anything, but I didn't remember it being this dark in areas. I don't know if I could have conceptualized it really back then. And I was watching so many horror movies that like death wasn't really like a taboo thing for me. So maybe it just fit right in with my repertoire of what I was watching.
Yeah.
And what was cool about it, like the toy line was made for boys, obviously, as a spinoff, but also like it appealed to me personally because a lot of it was monster themed. Like before the show even started, like they were just like, I think there were like vampires and like mummies, stuff like that, or at least versions of things like that. Just like weird creatures that Max was fighting. And Max is just a default little blonde kid in a red cap. And he was even smaller. Like he was like a child, like a little child in the original series of it before they made him into like almost a teenager in the show. So it's like you could put yourself in his shoes and it was kind of like you fighting all these monsters. So that's what made it even cooler and more appealing.
Oh yeah, like some of these toys, there's like a werewolf head there that opens up. There's a like a vampire. There's aliens. There's lots of zombies. There's like a zombie like severed hand that opens up, and there's a dungeon inside. And like the skull one we were talking about earlier has like this Igor looking dude, and then what looks like Frankenstein's monster. So yeah, it's very horror themed, which is totally up your alley.
Oh yeah.
And I did just find a picture. They did make Virgil, and he's like even tinier than Max. And if you remember how tiny Max was,
he's got to be like a flea. Like how small can they make those things?
Very, very small, apparently. But yeah. So it was just such a cool thing as a kid. Like I'm sure there was probably a lot of parents that didn't care for it, but to me, it was one of the coolest ideas for a toy I had ever encountered.
Well, it was kind of genius because they were like their own little play sets. Like with other toys like He-Man and stuff, you had to buy the individual figures. You had to buy like the giant like Castle Grayskull and all that stuff to have a play set. But with this, it's all in one. And as a kid, like I didn't really discriminate against the kind of like the size of the toys I had. It's just like, man, this is cool. Like this is my own little battlefield. So I think my drive would have been like to get more of these tiny figures so I could put more on that battlefield. And I'm sure in relation to the other toys, they were probably pretty cheap. I mean, I don't know for sure, but I'm assuming they were maybe the cost of one regular action figure is what my assumption would be. And that's great. Like, especially with those little battlefields, like it gives you a lot of leeway to do a lot with your imagination there. So, I mean, just before we even start talking about the show or anything, like I just wanted to give praise to the toys in general for at least helping to shape our childhoods.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, we could talk about those forever, like a whole episode, but instead let's start talking about the show itself so we can kind of give our reactions to that and really how it holds up after, all this time has passed. So let's go ahead and jump into the episodes we watched for today's show. The very first episode, High Trade episode, finally random chosen episode. Order may vary depending on how those episodes fall chronologically, but of course we have to start with the very first episode being The Bellwether in One's Cap, Season 1, Episode 1. What's a bellwether? Like I didn't look it up and I don't know.
Oh, it's when the weather is outside and your bell is there.
You know what? That makes perfect sense. I feel like you read that directly from Merriam-Webster.
Yeah. I mean, I wrote that dictionary, so.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, I believe every word you say. I trust you, Chris.
It's true. It's a the bellwether is the leading sheep of a flock with a bell on its neck.
Is it really?
I think. I mean,
okay.
I just Googled it really quick.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Bellwether in one's. I mean, so I guess he's the leader of the flock with the cap. That's a weird title to me.
Yep, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Well, okay. I mean, it probably does.
We won't hold it against him.
We're just probably not smart enough to comprehend it. But oh well. So in this one, young Max receives a very special cap in the mail and learns that he is the foretold Mighty One, whom it is said is destined to defeat the ultimate evil of Skullmaster, who is basically Skeletor.
Yeah, and well, he was kind of like Skeletor, but he was drawn the same way as Croc, Killer Croc from Batman the Animated Series. Like, I mean, the face and everything is the exact same.
Or he's the Skeletor from Masters of the Universe live action movie. Like, he's kind of like more that than he is skeleton face. But no, I mean,
Yeah.
I see what you mean about the Killer Croc thing.
Yeah, he's drawn just like the dude. It's crazy. Like the same jaw, eyes, head.
But I mean, I don't say that necessarily to insult the show or anything. Like it's just
It's cool design.
it's just an observation based on what we'd seen before. But so basically the description gives it all. Like Max gets this statue of Virgil in the mail, and it tells him to go to the mini mart, and he's like,
I like that there's hieroglyphics
for mini mart,
for the words mini mart.
Yeah.
And that he was able to find a translation of it.
I like it because it didn't take itself too seriously, but it's basically a book that's like hieroglyphics for dummies or something like that.
Right. Yeah. His mom seems to be like some sort of
she's an archaeologist,
Indiana Jones-ish sort of. Not like she doesn't go on adventures and stuff, but she's like a museum curator kind of person that wears a vest a lot. So.
Yeah. She's an archaeologist. I remember that. And I think she knows about Max's adventures
Well, yeah, she does find out somebody, her and a couple of his friends.
That's right. So they're in on it.
There was one thing that I remember thinking was hokey about the show, and then they totally fixed it. And I thought that was genius, is because it's like a red baseball cap with an M on it, and it's just, and everyone keeps referring to him as the cap bearer. And I just thought it seemed kind of stupid that like the magical artifact that's so powerful that could stop, Skullmaster, who's like this world ending kind of being, is a baseball cap. But the explanation is that the cap takes the form to match like the personality of the bearer.
Right.
So like if someone else were destined for it, it wouldn't be a baseball cap. It might be like, like an old helmet, like a skull cap or something like that. And that, I was like, that is a genius way to fix that goofy issue. So I was like, man, that was smart.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of, I don't know where I've seen something like that before, when it might not have been a cap that I've seen before, but I like it when there is whatever relic or armor or something that does match the person wearing it. And this is an instance where I was thinking the same thing as you, but then I was like, well, maybe it's not like that. Maybe it does match whoever's wearing it. And then we do see that come into play later. And we'll talk about that when we get there. But
also, we should explain real quick, because we said the statue looked like Virgil. Virgil is this little chicken looking guy.
Yeah.
Actually, he's a fowl, not a chicken.
I mean, chickens are from the fowl family, so I don't know. It's chicken egg.
But he's like this I don't know, chickeny owl looking character who's very intelligent, wears robes all the time, like super smart. But but he's no fighter or anything like that, so he gets scared pretty easily. And Virgil's also accompanied by Norman, who is this big, like, I don't know, like futuristic barbarian-ish kind of guy. Like, how would you describe Norman?
Norman's like a kind of a modern, not modern necessarily, but he's a Viking of sorts. But what's cool about Norman, like I read a little bit on his history, is he is essentially like he's immortal because of someone he had defeated in the past who had killed his father. And what this has done for him, like he's lived for centuries. So he is, when people talk about heroes like Hercules or Thor or things like that, they're referring to Norman.
Oh, that's cool.
Isn't that awesome? Like I loved that explanation. Like he has been this historic figure because he's been alive and has been like a fighting for whatever side for so long.
That just blew my mind.
Yeah.
So he's basically been all of those people.
Yeah, exactly.
Just gone under different names so people don't know that he's immortal.
Exactly. Yeah, he just has taken on kind of new identities, or just kind of takes on the identity of whoever he's referred to as by the people he's saving or whatever. And that has made him like a legend through multiple generations. Isn't that cool?
My mind literally just blew, Joseph. You blew me. You blew you blew my mind.
Nice. Yeah. So
that's crazy. That's awesome.
I know. And this is a series based off of some like tiny little toys, and they have such a cool like history around it.
Yeah. Man, that's awesome. I love that. Okay. I love it even more. I didn't think I could, but now I love it more.
Yeah, when I read that, like I got chills because I was like, man, that's such a good idea. I love that idea. It kind of reminds me.
Also, Norman is easily my favorite character of this series.
He's very like one of those people who he doesn't speak a lot, but he speaks when it's important. And he, in the same way Indiana Jones is scared of snakes, Norman is scared of spiders.
Yeah, and there's reason for it that we'll get into later.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool. It's cool if you don't know this show. It's pretty cool. So, yeah. So he drops that statue, breaks it. He finds that he's got a hat. Talking about Max, and then, you know, he goes to the mini mart, and he's being chased by like this lava monster. Skullmaster's like under the earth, like in this, I don't want to call it like another dimension, but it's like there's a subterranean world to the earth, and that's where Skullmaster is, and he's been kind of imprisoned down there, I guess. Like he hasn't been able to get out.
So so what happened? Just a little bit of history on Skullmaster. So Skullmaster, I believe he was trained by Virgil back in the day. Like Virgil was his teacher. And then,
I think so, because he always refers to Virgil as old friend, kind of mockingly.
Exactly. And so they Skullmaster destroyed Virgil's, basically his whole clan, the Lemurians, and also Atlantis. And I don't know when Atlantis comes into play, like in what way, but I'm assuming it's the same, like Lost Under the Sea Atlantis kind of thing. So Skullmaster is responsible for the destruction of the Lemurians and for destruction of Atlantis. So that's why he was imprisoned under the earth.
I can't believe they gave even that much more backstory to like Virgil and stuff.
There's so much to this. I was so fascinated digging into it.
I'm gonna have to fall down that rabbit hole at work instead of working.
See if you can find the comic books. Like I would love to check those out.
Oh, there's comic books?
Yeah, there's a 10 issue series distributed by Marvel. Yep.
Gotta be kidding me. Okay. Yeah, I'm in. So Skullmaster can't get out of there, but he's been able to send some minions up to do his bidding and try to retrieve the cap bearer. Now that the cap bearer has been revealed, because I guess the cap has been hidden for so long, and Skullmaster's been waiting for it to pop up because he needs the cap, and then it would make him powerful enough to basically do what he wants. So he sends like these lava dudes to the surface after Max, and I don't know. It's kind of implied that the lava dude kills the guy in the mini mart. I was like, oh my God.
Oh yeah, he definitely does.
And then is chasing Max down, but then his hat glows, a portal opens, Max falls through it, and he lands in this desert right in front of Virgil and Norman.
Yeah.
So they're basically kind of explaining that, you know, he's received the cap because he is the cap bearer. He's basically the chosen one that will be the one to defeat. Well, they don't even say defeat. I think they pretty much say you'll be the one to kill Skullmaster. Like they don't sugarcoat anything in this show.
No, yeah. They maybe they said destroy or something, but they do say kill a lot and die a lot. We get a lot of insinuated deaths where it like cuts away and you'll hear like a scream or something.
Oh, yeah.
I think that was with the lava beast killing that one dude.
I'm pretty sure somebody dies in every episode we watch. And usually in most of the episodes we watched, multiple people die.
Yeah, true. Especially the last episode we watched, but we'll get there.
Both of the next two episodes we watched, there's a lot of death.
True. So Max goes, like, he's down in these tunnels because he's basically like they want him to confront Skullmaster. So Virgil and Norman kind of show him what he's up against, and they're thinking, and obviously it's episode 1, so it's not going to resolve in a way that they wanted to yet, but they're thinking that he can immediately go there and they can defeat Skullmaster while he's trapped under there. And he could have almost, like, Max had this crystal like in his hands and he was about to break it, and he sees how Skullmaster is reacting to it, like saying like, you know, don't touch that or whatever. And but he instead of destroying it, he just kind of like pushes it over and lets Skullmaster catch it while he runs away. So that was his bad. Like he could have finished most of it just right there.
So what is the deal with the crystal? Because I either missed something or just didn't fully grasp what the crystal was about and what the significance was, other than I guess it was something that enhanced Skullmaster's powers.
The crystal, as far as I understand,
it contained a lot of souls.
Yeah, it's the crystal. I think it's literally called the Crystal of Souls. And
makes sense.
Yeah. For that reason, my understanding is that's what gives him control over all of these beings that he has. So without the crystal and his power, like he has no army, is my base understanding of it. There's probably more to it, but as far as the episodes we watched, that's what I got from it.
That makes some sense for something later on. I'll bring it up when we get there. But in the third episode we watched, I think I see where that comes into play.
Okay. Yeah. And so we didn't really describe Max much. I mean, he's blonde kid.
Yeah, let's describe Max.
Red cap, a white shirt with a red M on it. Like,
blonde hair, blue-eyed kid.
Yeah. And since you can hear immediately that he's played by Rob Paulsen, I had assumed that because I thought I had remembered Max's voice, but it wasn't until I heard him again that I was like, oh yeah, it's totally him. But he's a perfect fit for it because he's got that kind of like sarcastic. Basically, he's Raphael just with a slightly higher pitched voice.
Well, I was gonna say he's kind of a Raphael / Peter Parker type kid. Like he doesn't have the attitude that Raphael is usually kind of associated with. But he's got like that sarcasm and that quick wit, but he's very like good natured. Like he's got a good heart.
That's true. Very jokey, like Peter Parker. Yeah, so that's a good example.
He doesn't take much seriously until he's forced to take things seriously, which does happen.
Yeah. So, that's something else I really respected about the show is that they don't make him like immediately or really ever like, I fully accept my responsibility. It's all serious business now. Like the whole time he's kind of like, he has his like self-doubt. Like he's like, I don't know that I should be, why am I this guy? Like, why did you make me this guy? Like, I can't do this. He doesn't, because they don't give him like a super powerful weapon or anything. He's more just able to open these gateways and kind of slowly develops like leadership skills over the course of the series. But that's why in part it might have been cut off early because like, I don't know that we fully get to see his character develop. But maybe it's for the best that he kind of stays as he is, where he has those doubts and he has to overcome them.
Well, it could be like they give it kind of an out in the last episode. And like, that's another thing. And when we get there, we'll explain it. But I do like the whole series. He's very much like, aware that he's like, guys, I'm a kid. Like I'm not strong.
Yeah.
I'm just a child. I can't help you. But he's forced into it because they keep saying it's your destiny. And, the cap works for him. And so he's just kind of like, I don't know, the whole time he feels like he's just the wrong person, in the wrong place at the wrong time. But it's like the people he's with are like, no, we know that you're the one. And Max is the last one to actually see it.
Yeah, he's, according to the prophecy, like 3,000 years ago or something. I can't remember how long ago it was, but he is the one. And he's dismissive of it. He doesn't believe it. And he's an unlikely hero, but he's kind of forced to rise above his concern and doubt of himself.
Right.
But yeah, so interesting way to approach that. Like they don't make him like, and I like that about it too, that they don't make him like a completely confident, like heroic type right away or ever. No,
he pretty much doubts everything he does through the whole thing. I mean, there's things he does where he gets cocky and cracks jokes at people, but like his overall outlook on himself is very dim.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of like he's almost more relatable that way,
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because that's how I feel about myself all the time.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I know. I've been there. So yeah. I agree. Something else that I had forgotten about the show is we get, of course, little PSAs at the end. Not even PSAs. Forgot about that too. It's not like don't do drugs, stuff like that. This one's more like informative about at least what we saw about geography and the places that they had visited. The first episode goes over like Taj Mahal, and then he kind of explains that, and it took 22 years to build and such and so on. And so it's one of those things, just like all of these shows in the 90s had, or 80s and 90s had, where they have to have something at the end to make it seem more educational than it is. It's kind of
to like justify it in some way.
Prime example would be He-Man and the ones at the end of that. I mean, Captain Planet, He-Man, G.I. Joe. Exactly.
In case we didn't make it clear, like his cap opens portals and he can basically walk through them and transport himself basically anywhere on the earth. And then also he can get into Skullmaster's lair as well.
Yeah. And he quote unquote defeats Skullmaster in that he throws him like into the lava, but obviously it's not the end of Skullmaster, and they teleport away and everything's fine. And he has to try to come to terms with the fact that he is now going to be a part of this much larger event than he had even known about before.
Right. Yeah.
This next episode we watched for today's show was the Magnificent Seven, which was season 1, episode 13. Was this the highest rated?
No, I chose this one.
Oh, okay. What made you choose this one?
This was one of the ones that stood out to me because of the ending, because of like, there's 3 scenes in particular that stuck with me ever since I first saw it as a kid. And this was the first like piece of television I ever watched that made me cry and made me feel sick to my stomach and like really hammered home the idea of what death really is.
Oh man. Yeah. I mean, I know what you mean. The end of this one is,
it's rough, man.
I know. 'Cause I'm thinking like, oh, no way. Like, is that how it's going to close it off? But then it does. And you're like, oh my gosh. I mean, I don't want to like belabor that point without even saying what it is. So we'll get there.
Yeah.
But okay.
What's the description on this one?
For this one, Max and co travel through the world, recruiting various heroes to join them in their crusade to destroy Skullmaster and the Crystal of Souls.
Well, let's go through like the people they recruit quicker so we can get to like the meat of this stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they have to recruit these 4 like warriors that are basically going to help Max get to Skullmaster, because it's at like this point they're like Skullmaster is too powerful for even like Max and Norman and Virgil to get in there by themselves. They need their own little army. So they go around the world, recruit a few guys. The first guy they recruit is Beowulf, who is supposed to be the Beowulf of legend.
Yeah.
He's now a washed up pro wrestler.
Yeah, he's the one who killed the Grendel and from the old story. And so it's cool. You know what I really liked about it, and this is one of those things like I didn't appreciate it until after I watched this and kind of let it sink in, is that he is like a wash up now. Like he hasn't had to like stay sharp and like keep trained like he was. And so
he's overweight.
He's overweight. He's not at all what you would consider the heroic type. I like that they didn't immediately make him like, oh, well, now it's my time to shine. And so I have to come back and I know exactly what to do. That's something that I can say about a lot of this show, is it like none of it is ever jumping from, 0 to hero immediately. Like there's always progression. And that's something that's really smart for a show of this kind.
Yeah, when they first try to recruit him, he's just like, I'm not going to be able to help you because he's like, I'm washed up. I'm done.
Yeah, we
like,
even see him lose his wrestling match.
Yeah. Voiced by Jim Cummings.
Of course.
So that's cool. And like his accent was so heavy, I could barely understand him and it made me laugh. But eventually it's kind of like, Max is smart and is just kind of like, Virgil hammers home, you're the only one that's going to be able to recruit these 4. And so Max kind of does some reverse psychology and talks about how, awful he is now and he's a wash up. So Beowulf then is just kind of like, he gets kind of angry at himself and joins Max to prove to himself that he can do it. So next they go to back to America. And they recruit this, like, I don't know what all his deal is, but I think all 4 of these are based in actual lore from their respective areas. This guy is Yana Ya, I think.
Yeah,
that's his name.
It's like Yana Yai or Yana Ya or something, yeah.
Yana Yayan, that's what it is, Yana Yayan. He's like this old, like, Native American dude, and, speaks very softly. I don't want to be a stereotype, but this is probably based in an actual legend, so he reflects some of those things. Like he's kind of quiet. He wears like a wolf skin. Yeah. He's like a master utilizing bows and arrows.
Yeah, but
he was pretty cool. He kills a snake, and that was right about to attack Max. And what was funny is Virgil's like, it was a good job of you, standing next to the snake to get his attention. Blah blah blah. And Max is like, yeah, I totally meant to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
My favorite of the 4 is Hanuman, the Monkey King. They go to a zoo in Japan. I think it was Japan, right?
I think so. Yeah.
To get him, he's living it up in a zoo. He does not want to be a hero again. He's a talking monkey guy. And he's just like, no, man, I've got it made here. Like, I don't want to do this. And they have to force him to do it. I think Norman lassos him or something.
Yeah, I think they literally.
And Max puts his old like helmet on him, and it's kind of cool because he's just like, no, like I really don't want to do this, please. And you kind of find out later it's because he knows what's going to happen to him. But Max is just kind of gives him this little pep talk, and he's like, hey, man, you know, sometimes you have to do what you got to do because it's your destiny sort of thing.
Yeah, even if you don't want to. And that's something that's almost like Max, like expressing his own feelings towards things. Yeah.
You know, Hanuman's like a very good reflection of Max, like several times in this episode. Especially because there's a point where Max is just like, I can't lead you guys. I'm not right for this. And Virgil's trying to tell him, yeah, you are. And Hanuman's like, who cares if you are or not? Like, you don't have to do this. You know, maybe you are the chosen one, but you don't have to be. You can do your own thing. You can live and stuff like that. And I thought it was a cool little argument back and forth. The last person they pick up is Majaji, and she is like this African warrior woman. And at the time, she's just kind of like keeping poachers away from this rhino. And they think she's like this pencil pusher. And then to prove them wrong, when the rhino attacks, she like wrestles it to the ground, and she's like total bad.
Yeah, it's like she still got it. And
yeah,
we come to find that she and Norman have a history as well.
Oh, you can tell, like, her and Norman were knocking boots, man. Like the glances and things they say back and forth, you're like, oh yeah. One thing that she says is after she wrestles the rhino, and the rhino's kind of like, ugh, starts walking away. I love this. She says, go, brave one, be good. And that comes up again later in the episode, and it is heartbreaking, man. Oh, God.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he leads, they all get together to go through the portal. They all get into Skullmaster's lair, and it is a trap. And there are, I wouldn't say an army, there are multiple armies there waiting.
Yeah, there's the hydras, there's the turtles, there's these giant crab monsters.
It was literal pandemonium in there. I mean, just the music's going crazy. Everybody is fighting and just fighting swarms and swarms of things. What's interesting is you feel like going in like there's no way out of this, and that kind of is the way it goes. Like they don't get out unscathed.
In no way is it a victory on their part, like at all. It's more of a lesson.
No, they really do kind of lose.
Yeah, it's more of a lesson for Max. Like, I mean, a hard one, but a lesson all the same.
Yeah. What I love though is so each one of these four warriors kind of fights a certain way. As Max is trying to make his way to Skullmaster, because the rest are going to have to, like, they're basically holding off the armies as best as they can just to give Max the opportunity to make it to Skullmaster, not just defeat him, like, just to even get him there. Each of them kind of, as he's passing them, gives him some advice. Like Hanuman says something about, you know, always take the high ground, let the other guy do the work for you. So he gets up there to confront Skullmaster. You know, he takes all that stuff to heart. He causes Skullmaster to shatter the crystal himself, which was pretty clever. And dude, like, I don't know about you, but I mean, I felt like I knew what was going to happen. But like, even him, like, when he first walks into that cave and it's all dark and you know Skullmaster's there waiting with that sword, like, I was kind of like tense. I was like on edge. I was like, oh God.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was like the Skullmaster messing with him, if it was an illusion or what was happening at first. I mean, so I guess there's the amount of success where, yeah, he does break the crystal of souls, but at great sacrifice. Like,
yeah. Oh man.
We get the lessons. I mean, Beowulf's lesson is like a powerful spirit will overcome any obstacle. Something that seemed like it was, I mean, they're 20 something minute episodes, so it's not like there's a lot of time to elaborate on these things, but it was like in the very short time that they had together, even after the recruitment phase and everything, they were still able to teach him small, but still very valuable lessons in that short time. And I thought that was really well executed that they were able to do that. And a sad send off too, because I mean, we're beating around the bush here, but ultimately these heroes have to sacrifice themselves in order to allow Max, Virgil, and Norman to escape. The archer guy has like one last arrow, and his job is to tie this rope to it and like shoot it, because there's like no way out. Like the portal, like Max to teleport, like Max has to go and find these portals, like however he can get there. He can't just do it on the whim. Like he has to reach these portal like spots to open them. And so like the only one around is in a place where they have to like fly over to it. The guy attaches the rope to his last arrow, and he shoots it at this like flying dragon thing, and they hitch a ride on it, and he's basically like asking them to come with him, but he's like, no, like I need to stay here and like hold off these creatures to allow you to escape, and that's what everyone ends up doing. And like you said, that's when Mujaji's like, be safe or be good.
She says, well, it's because like Max doesn't want to leave them. He's just like, we can't leave them. Norman grabs him like and pulls him away, and Max is like screaming and like, you know, trying to get back to them. And then Mujaji says, like she said to Rhino, "Go, brave one, be good." And it's just like, God, dude, that like crushes you because you know they're all gonna die. Before that happens, like Max, you know, he broke that crystal when he was fighting Skullmaster. Skullmaster is about to kill him. Like, he's got him dead to rights. He's going to kill Max. Hanuman jumps on his back and is like grabbing him and gives Max the opportunity to run away. And before Max and Virgil and Norman escape, and, you know, while the others are still holding all the forces off, Skullmaster comes out with Hanuman's crushed helmet and just throws it at their feet. And that was the first like moment where I understood what death, like how final death was as a kid.
Yeah.
Because I remember like seeing that crushed helmet and like my stomach just dropped. Like that devastated me as a kid. and then even worse when, you know, they were going through the portal and Max is screaming, trying to get back to them. And you know, Mujaji says, you know, be good and all that stuff. And I was like, oh my God. Like it just devastated me as a kid, man. And then the very end of the episode is where, you know, they're back at Max's house, you know, on Earth. And he goes out and he's got this little cross. There's like a little something from each of the person. Like there's a broken arrow. You see like Beowulf's helmet. I think you see part of Mujaji's broken spear. You see Hanuman's crushed helmet on the top of the cross. And it kind of makes you sick to your stomach a little bit. Max is like crying and stuff. One thing that was nice about it though was like, Hanuman kept saying, he kept kind of joking about like, if he dies, maybe he'll come back as a butterfly. Like he's just he believes in reincarnation. The very last like couple frames, you see a butterfly land on Hanuman's helmet, and then that's the end of the episode. And I was just like, oh God, no.
I know.
Like, I'm gonna cry. I'm dying.
What a beautiful send off to these characters. And you only meet them this episode. It's not like a 2-episode arc or anything. It's just this one episode. You're able to get that attached to these characters. And that's just strong.
Soul crushing.
That's the strong writing, strong acting. Like, man, this show was better than it had any right to be, I think.
Absolutely.
So, and at the lesson at the end of this one is basically like every land has its heroes. We can learn from all of them, and we should all remember that. So a very simple lesson, but something that's very true. Like respect the heroes from every part of the world. Yeah. Yeah. The last episode we watched for today's show was Armageddon Out of Here, because it's part of this. Like Armageddon was like a 2-part series or a 2-part special, I think. The one before it was like the beginning of it. I don't remember what it was called, but it was Armageddon something else. And this one is Armageddon Out of Here, season 2, episode 27. Highest rated, also the very last episode of the series. So this was technically episode 40 of the entire series. Okay, let's just jump into it because the description gives too much. It's a winter solstice, and it's the final fight, literally against Skullmaster as he's trying to take Max's cap.
Well, and there's more to it too. Like this is literally, it's like the end of the world. The Skullmaster has creatures popping up all over the world, just destroying everything. Like every portal that Virgil and Max and Norman pop through, the cities are being destroyed like everywhere. And right off the bat, like we get kicked in the junk because there's a giant spider attacking this city, and Norman's like, oh, why'd it have to be spiders? And you know he's afraid of them. We find out in another episode that like you see at this one part, Max sees all these drawings in this cave that Virgil is at, and there's like depictions of things that situations Max has been through. And I think at first he thought that Virgil had been kind of making pictures like depicting his battles, but he sees one of Norman getting eaten by a spider. It turns out that these are actually prophecies. Yeah. So Norman knew he was going to be killed by a spider. That's why he's afraid of spiders. And that spider, I mean, it eats him. Like Norman's dead.
Yeah, this happens pretty early on too.
Yeah, right off the bat, I was like, no.
Yeah.
I remember that as a kid too, and that was devastating. For
It's
me.
another one of those things where like he's in the jaws of the spider and he's just like, run while you can, like telling him to get out of there. Skullmaster. Oh, also Skullmaster has reforged the Crystal of Souls too, so that's how he has control over all these creatures again. And because
he doesn't have all of them though, he's got most of them, and he's got some new ones, but he doesn't have all of the ones he used to have, which will come into play in a little bit.
But yeah, so Norman is off-screen killed, eaten by that spider. Virgil is telling Max like his concern about Stonehenge, like he's seen basically in prophecy his own death. So, and it revolves around Stonehenge. So he's basically like we can't go there. Like you can't go there. Like even if I am taken there, like do not come. Like that's where I will die. That's where I will leave this mortal coil, I think is what he says, something like that.
Yeah, that's exactly what he said. Like he knows what's going to happen, so he doesn't want Max to be there. He doesn't want Max to see it. And if Max gets there before the winter solstice ends, he knows that Skullmaster will be there waiting for him, you know? So, but the next portal they go through, as he's speaking, the Skullmaster's there, grabs Virgil, of course goes to Stonehenge.
Yeah. Skullmaster is essentially the bringer of death. He's the one who's bringing about the end of the world, or at least the end of the world as we have come to know it, where he is essentially trying to take over not only the earth, but also time, to where he'll be ruler in the past, present, and future. Like he is wants to take over everything. And that's why he wants Max's cap, because that's the only way he'll have the power to do that.
So Max is just like, I need help. He goes to Skullmaster's old lair, where he knows there's some guys there that used to be under Skullmaster's control that aren't anymore and hate Skullmaster as much as he does. So he goes to the lava dudes, and well, they try to kill him immediately, but he gets to the Lava Lord, which is this like big old Olmec looking dude.
It's Megatron. Basically,
yeah, it's Frank Welker voicing the guy, and it's got Megatron's voice pretty much. So he kind of makes this deal with the Lava Lord. The Lava Lord has this basically a mech that he makes. It's called Magus, I think it was.
Magus, yeah. There's the history as I remember it from what I was reading about Lava Lord. Like Lava Lord was never on Skullmaster's side. He was just kind of pushed to the side. Like he used to be ruler of this underworld until Skullmaster was imprisoned there, and then he kind of took over. So Lava Lord has always been resentful towards Skullmaster, and he was just kind of, like I said, pushed to the side by him before. And so he's actually teamed up with Max a couple of times. Like even though he's not like a good guy technically, like the enemy of his enemy is his friend for the time being. So he teamed up with Max before this episode as well. So this is kind of like a return to form.
Well, and so Max does exactly what you think he's going to do. He shows up as Stonehenge.
Yeah.
But he's got Lava Lord within Magus. And Skullmaster summons this giant orc thing, and those two are battling it out. Max gets captured basically like by one of I don't remember the guy's name, but one of Skullmaster's
the little red guy
henchmen. Yeah,
that's a Warmonger.
Oh, Warmonger. Yeah, and then he gives Max a deal. He's like, I won't kill Virgil if you give me the cap. And Max, being an idiot, or just not an idiot, being a scared kid who is afraid of losing his friend, gives him the hat. So when Skullmaster puts it on, like we said earlier, like it changes into this big crown instead of like a baseball hat. Because I was thinking, man, he's gonna look dumb with that baseball cap on his head.
Yeah.
And then he immediately kills Virgil, and I was like, no.
Yeah. Like he does it just so he can save Virgil, and then of course it's the enemy, so he betrays him immediately. Something else just about Lava Lord real quick, and Warmonger, I guess. So Lava Lord, like Magus is his creation, but he also treats it as his son, even though like it's a mech and he pilots it, like he still treats it as if it's his son, his creation, since he did make it. That's just a little bit of history on him. And then Warmonger, he's kind of like the Starscream to Skullmaster's Megatron, because he wants to take over. And there's an episode where he does briefly, like he thinks he has killed Skullmaster. Like he makes an attempt to kill Skullmaster and he believes he succeeded. And so he takes over, and then Skullmaster comes back and it has essentially faked his own death. but he respects the fact that Warmonger was so devious, so he kind of promotes him and keeps him by his side because he appreciates his deviousness. And I was like, that's really interesting about this character.
Yeah, so then Skullmaster kills him too.
Yeah.
He's just killing everybody. Well, and here's what's interesting, and the whole time I'm like, I've never understood why Max is the cat bearer either. I've never understood why he is the chosen one, and I don't think you're meant to until now. So Skullmaster, he's got the cap. He is all powerful. He's got his reforged crystal. He is warping time and space right now. He's the master of everything. Max grabs hold of the scepter, and Max basically, it's like Max's will begins to overpower Skullmaster's and starts reversing everything. Like, and even he ends up reversing time. So it's like, oh, okay, so Max is the only person that has the will to override Skullmaster. That was the whole thing.
Right. It's not his physical strength. It's not his like aptitude in battle. It's just his pure will. Exactly.
And this is the part that I think is genius about this show. So he reverses all of time and goes back to Max waking up in just being in his bedroom without the cap. The package gets delivered, and he gets the statue. And he all of a sudden remembers everything, and he's like, "Oh my god! Like I went back in time. I can do all this over." And he breaks the statue. The cap's in there, so he knows everything now. He knows every single move to make and not to make.
Yeah,
and it's like that accompanying with like his will could overpower Skullmaster, and now he knows, and now he can be a step ahead every single time. He knows how to. He could prevent his friends' deaths. If he so like felt that was a way he could go, he could change everything and take Skullmaster out. That is the whole reason he is the cat bearer, because he was the only person that this could work for. And I was like, that is genius. I don't know. Oh man,
it was such a cool ending to it. Even if it was like, I believe whether we believe that statement or not, that it was ended early. Like even if it was like, that was such a great way to end it, because it's like, it ties everything up and also like starts it over again. And in this way, like you can't like have more to it. Like that would sully the good taste it leaves in your mouth at the end if they carried it on and like started it over again like that. But just leaving it as a new beginning where presumably everyone's still alive or everyone's come back to life, and he's getting to do it with the knowledge of how to do it this time. Like that's just such a smart way to do it. And I love that like on the little statue, it's like, and don't be late this time. Like it's like there's even a self-awareness to that. So it's going to be like just imagining him going through all these battles again with the knowledge of how he can do them better this time around. Like that's just such a cool thought. And you don't need anything more than that. That leaves you with just enough and a really satisfactory ending. And I can't say that about a lot of cartoons like this, but I think this one just has the perfect send-off without needing anything else to elaborate on it.
Yeah, I think this is like there are like maybe three, I want to say there's 3 cartoons that I think nailed the endings in an amazing way. And I think this might be, if not number 1, number 2. It's definitely one of the best tied up cartoons I've ever seen.
Yeah, for sure.
Or shows in general. So
absolutely. Well, Chris, looks like it's about time we send our inner kids caps embroidered with their first initial to have them fight a never-ending war against Skullmaster by being glorified Uber drivers for a giant chicken and an immortal Viking guy, so they can tell us firsthand what they thought of the cartoon Mighty Max.
This cartoon was so cool. This kid gets a magic hat and he can go anywhere in the world and has an awesome bodyguard that could beat up anyone and a super smart chicken friend he could eat if he gets too hungry. But everyone seems to die and that's not as fun. But I still gave this show 5 bowls of fowl, not a chicken cereal out of 5.
For a show literally made to improve toy sales on a pre-existing line, Mighty Max took an interesting detour, actually creating something that held up fairly well, all things considered. Making Max a reluctant, imperfect hero who frequently doubted himself, juxtaposed against a mission spanning across time, also helps make him more relatable to a younger audience. He wasn't given any crazy powers and relied mostly on being a slightly clever kid, and Norman, Definitely Norman. Although the series sort of shot itself in the foot by taking a much darker tone than expected, which led to its premature cancellation, maybe, that was also something I really respected about it, and those higher stakes also made it more engaging. Overall, I'd give Mighty Max 5 big bowls of Cat Bearer Crunch cereal out of 5. Be sure to check this one out if you can find it. And boy, did they luck out with the prophecy stating that a boy named Max was the chosen one. Mighty Charles just doesn't have the same ring to it.
You know, thinking about it now, like, I mean, I guess it wouldn't happen if the cap changes to suit whoever wears it, but it would be kind of embarrassing if, like, a guy named Charles got the cap and it had an M on it, and he'd be like, what? He would just think it was, like, Super Mario cosplay or something. He'd be,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
That's true. Well, maybe maybe Mario has one of those caps. Maybe he's mighty.
Oh, my God.
Maybe it doesn't stand
Joseph.
for Mario at all.
Oh, my God, and Mario goes between worlds. Granted in pipes, but still.
But maybe the pipes are where the portals are. Like, it all makes sense now.
We've solved it. We solved it. So do you have any final thoughts on Mighty Max?
Oh, yeah, I guess before we go into that. Man, this was, like, I was going into it expecting to see, like, a real, like, hokey kind of made to push toys show, like, Dino Riders. And I like Dino Riders. I mean, fine, but like, this was a quality show. Like, you could have detached it from the toy line entirely, and because they don't ever like refer to it or anything, and it's not like they have a ton of vehicles and stuff to sell more toys. It doesn't feel like an ad. Like, it feels like an actual quality show. And the fact that it came after the toy line made it even more impressive, because usually it's something like a show of this quality comes before the toys, and then toys are made in respect to that. But this happened the opposite way and ended up being like one of the much better cartoons of this era, really. So yeah, definitely check it out. Like, if you just heard the description of it, maybe you think like, oh, that sounds kind of corny, but man, like, it is so much better than it has any right to be, like I said. So yeah, check it out, please.
Yeah, I gotta agree. Like I said earlier, this cartoon really affected me as a kid. First introduction to what death is, and there's so many scenes that I hadn't seen since I was that age, but stuck with me perfectly. Even some of the lines, and even as an adult, I am amazed at how good the writing is. And honestly, I'm ready to watch this entire show all the way through. And I'm really jealous that you thought of, going in and diving deeper and reading more about some of the characters and history and stuff, because this is one that I need to know all of the lore about this that I can, because there's so much, way more than you would think. And they do mention that there's even extra history with cosmic powered caps. Like, this wasn't the only cap, so there were more out there, and I want to try to find out what happened to them, or just to see if there's anything out there about like why this is the last one. And that even the portal system was like something that used by gods that seem like they no longer exist. And, there's all these heroes around the world. There's just so much to this universe that, like, it just boggles my mind that this started from just these toys that were made to compete with Polly Pocket. I can't fathom like how this came about, but this, I can honestly say that this is probably one of the best cartoons of all time. Like, I'm just going to go ahead and say it.
Wow.
One of the best of all time.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can't dispute that. That's reading Norman's history alone got me so pumped about. I was like, man, I hope Chris hasn't read this, because I want to tell him, because that's so cool. I hope you had the same reaction that I had just to hearing about him going through history and being this hero in different eras. Like, that was such a cool thought to me. He could have his own spin-off series just based on that. Like,
yeah.
It's such a cool concept. Not only conceptually, but just like execution wise, this show did a really great job.
Yeah, it was a great, I mean, for everything they did was a great concept, and just, yeah, they nailed it, man. They perfected a cartoon. They did it.
Yes.
Good job, guys. You did it.
Good job, guys. Good job, NJHORROR, for suggesting this to us. Like,
yeah, thank you, man. This is awesome.
We were bound to watch this eventually, but I'm so glad we did, because it was awesome diving back into it. I did not appreciate it as much. I mean, I liked it as a kid, sure, but I didn't understand the gravity of it back then. And now that I'm watching it as an adult, or with adult eyes, it's that much more impressive.
Absolutely. And real quick, before we tell you what the next episode is, I did want to read another 5-star iTunes review. And this is from Carrie Lead. And she says, or he, I don't know, It says nostalgia overload. Interesting concept for a podcast, and once you start listening, you just want to keep going. I binged out on 3 episodes before I even realized it. That is awesome. That is so cool because that's like it's like the perfect the perfect, I don't know, like compliment to get is that someone started binging your show and didn't even realize they were binging it because they got so hooked and just sucked in. So thank you so much for that awesome comment.
Yes, I love that so much, Carrie, boy or girl, whoever you are. I appreciate you.
Yeah, we appreciate you. E-hug. I brought it back.
That's right. Your weird hug noise.
I brought it back from last week.
Well, listeners, looks like our milk supply is now on dry, so it's time for us to say goodbye. And next week, we'll be watching
Tangled, the series, suggested via YouTube by Crazy Cartoon Girl.
Whoa, wait. Tangled, like the Disney movie Tangled?
Yeah.
And it has a series?
Yeah.
All right. you know what? I've never seen that movie, so I'm coming in completely blind to it.
Okay. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how you do.
Did you Did you see the movie?
Yeah, I've seen the movie.
Did you like it?
Yeah, it's a Disney movie, so it's well done. I mean, you know, it's got some catchy tunes and a princess and some cuteness happens. And there's a love story, and it's very, very well animated. Okay. Well, and of course, there's crazy, fun animal characters, you know? So,
well, as long as there's cuteness, a love story, and crazy animal characters, then I'm in.
Yeah, there's a cool horse. There's a cool little chameleon. You'll like the chameleon. He's pretty fun.
I do like lizards.
Weird thing to say. But, like, just a few days ago, Tangled was maybe, I don't know, probably not even halfway up our list, which currently is, like, in the 70s, and man, it just like something happened, and all of a sudden we just got tons of voters, and it wasn't just Tangled, like tons of voters on a bunch of stuff that we added, and Tangled just shot right up there. So I guess you want us to review it. So I thank you so much for all the votes and stuff. Just keep them coming. It really is up to you guys what we watch now. So just keep on voting. Tell your friends about the show, get them to vote on your favorite cartoons, and keep the suggestions coming.
Yeah, I mean, they can't all be Mighty Max good, but who knows? We'll see.
Maybe Tangled will surprise us.
I hope so. I mean, it'll surprise me either way because I have no idea what any of it's about. So
it's like it's Rapunzel. You know the story of Rapunzel,
yeah.
right?
I get that part. I get the long hair thing. I just don't know what the story around the movie is. So
is this because you don't like blonde girls? Is this...
I have mixed feelings about blonde girls. It depends on the girl. But anyway, once again, I'm Joseph.
And I'm Chris. And
we'll see you next Saturday.
Presented by Nerdsloth,
a place for lazy nerds.
If you like what you heard, consider donating at patreon.com/nerdsloth so we can continue bringing you quality shows. Be sure to also leave us a review and share your favorite episodes and clips on social media. If you're looking for more content, visit us at nerdsloth.com.